10 American sailors are now getting debriefed and getting medical exams after spending the better part of 24 hours in Iranian custody. At this hour, there are serious questions about how this happened in the first place, as Iran attempts to humiliate the United States by releasing a series of propaganda videos of our soldiers. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. The news of the sailors' release came early this morning, and while the Obama administration was quick to thank the Islamic Republic for giving our sailors back to us, Iran, in turn, decided to release a series of troubling images from the sailors' time in captivity. Look at this. First, still images showing the 9 men and 1 woman sitting on the floor in a sparse room. Iran also making it a point to show the sailors eating and drinking. But did you notice the 1 woman in the room? Our female sailor in what appears to be a makeshift hijab or headscarf. Sources tell Fox News she may have been forced to wear it. Hours later, the images from Iran got much worse. This time, it was video. Iranian state television deciding to show off our sailors at gunpoint on their American vessel, on their knees, hands behind their heads. Images eerily reminiscent of a hostage or even an execution scene we've seen at times. Tonight, images like these are splashed across newspapers in Iran. The video also shows Iranian forces rifling through the sailors' belongings and their weapons. Keep in mind, we were told we had an engine problem on one of these boats. And get this, the video was actually released shortly before Secretary of State John Kerry praised Iran's actions and thanked them, giving the Obama administration foreign policy a pat on the back. Watch.
I also want to thank the Iranian authorities for their cooperation and quick response. I think we can all imagine how a similar situation might have played out 3 or 4 years ago.
In moments, we'll be joined by the former Army Vice Chief of Staff, General Jack Keane, who's got some unbelievable thoughts on this. But we begin with former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, author of the new book, Duplicity. Great to see you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for being back with us tonight. This is an incredible sight.
Well, look, the Iranian dictatorship hates the United States. While Kerry and Obama were working out an agreement, Khamenei, the leader of the government, led crowds publicly chanting death to America, as he said, to remind people that nothing had changed, that the agreement was meaningless in the long run. You have to assume that this is a bad dictatorship that hates us and that every chance they get, I'm amazed at the Obama administration's inability to realize these guys shoved them and shoved them and shoved them. They've had 2 ballistic missile tests that were in clear violation of the UN Security Council resolutions. It seems like there's nothing the Iranians can do that John Kerry and Barack Obama don't find some method of excusing.
What is our female soldier doing, or sailor doing, with a headscarf on?
She's being imposed upon by a dictatorship that is deliberately humiliating her and deliberately imposing their value system. All of these films are designed to say to the world, the United States is a paper tiger, Iran is the rising new power, and you had better be with Iran because we're going to be there when it matters, and the Americans aren't going to be there because they can't even protect their own sailors.
You think it's a direct provocation?
No, I think they wake up every morning, and if something happens that they can get away with, they do it. I don't think they went out of their way to do this, but I think they can't restrain themselves. They hate us, and people really underestimate this. The political leadership, not the average Iranian, but the political leadership and the Revolutionary Guard hate the United States. They genuinely believe, as their founder said, Khomeini, that we are the great Satan. They mean that. And any chance they get to hurt the great Satan, they're going to do so.
Newt Gingrich, great to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Well, as we mentioned, video has been released of one of the sailors apologizing to the Iranians. Watch this.
It was a mistake. That was our fault, and we apologize for our mistake. The Iranian behavior was fantastic while we were here. We thank you very much for your hospitality and your assistance.
Didn't have a special problem?
We had no problem, sir.
General Jack Keane is chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, former Army Vice Chief of Staff, and a Fox News military analyst. General, good to see you. It's a shocking thing to see. Shocking.
Yeah, it is, very much so. I mean, we don't know what the coercion, intimidation took place, prior to him making that statement. The youngster certainly made a huge mistake in making that statement. These are people who pointed guns at his crew, forced the evacuation of his crew off their boats, surrendering their weapons, locked them up in a facility, and denied them freedom. And we have no apologies to make for anything giving that kind of horrific behavior by the Iranians. What is the mistake? That they may have sailed into international waters? I mean, you sail into international waters, you go out there and you find out, hey, you need any help? And if you don't need any help, then send the people on their way, let them know where they're at. That's not what these guys did. It's outrageous. I'm not even convinced that the Iranians are just exploiting a difficult situation. I'm not sure why the radio's not working and why the GPS isn't working. Did they jam it? Did they try to provoke this situation themselves? I'm not even sure they were in Iranian waters. They could have been in international waters and making the same claim that they're in Iranian waters so that they can provoke the situation, create the humiliation and embarrassment that you cited in the introduction, which has been a pattern of behavior ever since the nuclear deal was agreed to. One incident after another, they have been concocting these provocations.
Walk us through the irregularities according to what should have been done. I mean, the Iranians boarded an American vessel. They had our sailors on their knees with their hands behind their heads. They later had them in captivity, it appeared, with the woman with the headscarf. And then they get one of our sailors on camera apologizing, which appears to violate the code of conduct for members of the U.S. Armed Forces.
Well, absolutely. Well, the Iranians violated international law by confiscating boats and the members on those boats and detaining them and locking them up and taking their weapons. Secondly, I don't know what the Navy's rules of engagement are in the Persian Gulf. But from my perspective, you don't surrender your boat, you don't surrender your weapons. And I don't think that incident should have happened in the pattern that it did. But yet I can't blame the youngsters on those boats because I don't know the rules of engagements that they're operating on.
Right.
The investigation
will
determine all of that. Yeah,
and that's the thing. If this guy's being threatened, if there's some junior sailor who's got a gun to his head, and you better say this or else. At the same time, we got our Secretary of State out there thanking them, General. He's thanking them.
The conciliatory tone that Secretary Kerry expressed is absolutely ludicrous, knowing full well that sailors were detained against their will and under gunpoint. He may not have seen the video, but certainly he knows they were detained against their will. Secondly, to associate this behavior of the Iranians in terms of releasing them and not making them hostages, and associate that with the nuclear deal is absolutely horrific. And it just doesn't even deal with what the harsh reality that has taken place. Since the nuclear deal, the Washington Post journalist has been tried, convicted, and sentenced. 2 other Iranian Americans are now hostages. 2 missile launchers tested, medium-range missiles, capable of carrying nuclear weapons. No sanctions against those. Firing rockets in the vicinity of U.S. and French ships in the Gulf. All of these are staged provocations. For what reason, Megyn? Here's the reason. They are demonstrating to the Arabs in the region the nuclear deal is done, the gloves are off, we're back in as the #1 regional power seeking domination in the region, and we're telling the Arabs that the United States does not have your back. We've humiliated them, embarrassed them time and time again, and they're no longer the ally that they used to be. This is the message. This is the message.
That's the perspective people need to hear that contrasts against what we're being told by the administration, which is it's thanks to our great dealings over that Iranian nuclear deal that we were able to pick up the phone and get those sailors back. So good on us, because we got them right back. All we had to do was apologize and give them a public thank you, and they used it as a propaganda video, but they're back. And that's where it stands tonight. There's going to be much more as this investigation unfolds. General, great to get your perspective. Thank you, sir.
Good talking to you, Megyn.